Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talos Attack live on Twitch. We've got an interesting subject here today because something as simple as wheels for a tower machine, you never expected to be so much of a marketing, philosophical, moral debate here. But this is Apple, okay? And this is what happens when Apple decides to do weird things like price four wheels for the Mac Pro at $700. This creates a whole big moral debate here that I think I'm going to tick some people off with today. No, this isn't an Apple Sheep defense rant. This is more Apple Sheep on the attack, more Apple Sheep on this is something Apple does I don't like, but there's several angles that I think people are going to miss because I think probably people are going to misunderstand my argument. So that's why I want to walk you through my mindset very quickly. Yes, I've seen MKBHD's video on the wheels. I'll be addressing his points as well as following them up with my own thoughts. But before we get into that, the Lion 378, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 18 months. Holy cow, that's great. Overachiever, thank you for the 3 bits. Did you see the Unbox Therapy made a Max skateboard out of the 4 wheels and a flat cheese grater? Yes, that sounded amazing. Probably more useful than just wheels on a Mac Pro. 100 bits from Chris Norton. What is your schedule? It's changing a lot right now. I try to synchronize my work schedule with my wife's, and she's slowly getting back to work, so her schedule is kind of all over the place, which is why my schedule is kind of all over the place right now. So for the foreseeable future, it seems like I'll be taking Fridays and Saturdays off now, but I will be working full-time Sundays through Thursdays. So that's what it's currently looking at, but again, it will likely change. Why you need wheels for a computer? Great question, the Apple Jockey. Thank you for the 45 bits. So this is where my fundamental frustration with the Mac Pro wheels stem from, is I don't understand why the Mac Pro needs wheels. For one, it's a tower. There's no battery. So in order for it to work, it has to be plugged in. Towers are not typically something that move around that much. You notice iMacs or iMac Pros, they don't have wheels. Because I guess they're not something that moves around that much. And for whatever reason, people decided that the Mac Pro being a tower because it sits on the floor for some should mean that it's more mobile because it's on the floor. And I guess it's heavy. Even though it's got handles, you know, it's got those really nice, aesthetically pleasing stainless steel handles they make very easy to pick up the Mac Pro. Yeah, I'm sure it's heavy because it's not designed to be light. It's a very, big aluminum object. But I'm trying to understand the use case of why it needs to be rolled around regularly. Because in order for the Mac Pro to even work, it has to be plugged in not just to the wall, but to a monitor. So the idea that someone is regularly unplugging the entire Mac Pro, unplugging the monitor, rolling it on the same surface to another setup at a different desk with wires just hanging around that you plug in and then power up this station. I don't understand the point of it. That's my biggest frustration. Yes, we'll get to the Marquez luxury status argument. There's many levels, okay? This is layers. Ogres have layers. Cakes have layers. This is a huge philosophical discussion. Welcome to my TED Talk, ladies and gentlemen. So let's start with my frustration with the wheels of they're not being that practical. If there's someone that needs to use, $40,000, $50,000 Mac Pro at multiple different setups, I don't think lifting it is that complicated. And I think, in fact, that would be better than having it roll around, especially given the wheels don't lock, okay? I feel like most people kind of ignore that. Like, okay, they don't lock. But let's talk about why they're $700, because it's more of a marketing thing from... Okay, we'll get to that in a second. The fact that they don't lock is just plain dumb. Okay, that is just insanely stupid, especially given if you're putting this thing on a hard surface. I have no clue why they would design something like that. I don't care if it's $25. I don't care if it's $7,000. They're stupid if they don't lock. I don't care what the price is. That's just a bad design. Did you see that you were in the newest MKBHD? Yes, thank you, Grudy. For those who are unaware, yes, I have been in MKBHD's videos before in the form of my artwork and my channel name or my account name. That happened again the other day with my tweet showing up in this video. Yes, he doesn't follow me on Twitter, but he used my tweet in his video. Yeah, we all get that. Moving on. It's not that special. It's not that important. But what is Linus Tech Tips and Marquez's justification for the $700 wheels? Well, I think they have a fair argument. I'll give them credit. This is not a thoughtless, baseless argument. But the point is, no, it does not cost Apple $700 to make them. No, they are not fairly priced. No, they are not even worth it, really. They are just a product made for Apple to retain their luxury brand segment. Okay, so this is what people were talking about earlier. So certain companies that want to be known as luxury brands have to sell things at higher price, even if they're stupid. Like Marquez's example was a Supreme brick. You know, it's useless. What are you going to use that brick for? But the point is, it's the brand. It's about the luxury factor of it, and that's why a lot of people think it's kind of bizarre that, you know, the iPhone SE with a camera, display, internals, microchips, and everything, $400, but some wheels made of metal, $700. What's the logic there? And for those who haven't seen the video, you should watch it, obviously. But in case you haven't, the mindset is, with higher priced items, it makes you feel like the brand is luxury. So basically, the Mac Pro wheels, I'm paraphrasing here. This is not what Marquez said. But the way I took that was, you're basically telling me the $700 wheels are more of a marketing tactic than anything. Essentially, what that means is, if we charge a few things at an extremely high price, that means, oh, Apple is expensive, because apparently people have it in their minds that expensive things mean they're better. It's a more luxurious product if it costs more. So they have to make certain objects or certain products or certain accessories that probably aren't that popular. Mac Pro wheels, even if they were $20, would probably not sell that much, because not that many people buy the Mac Pro in the first place. And even fewer of them need them to roll around on wheels for whatever reason. I think it's a dumb justification for them. But anyway, so that in return makes Apple appear to not be a cheap, affordable brand, which I guess has its negatives from a marketing standpoint. If you make too many cheap products and if you make too many affordable products, that means bad. That means you're cheap, and that means you're easy to access, you're not special, you're not unique. So what Apple does is they price budget options where they matter, with things like the $329 iPad, which is insanely popular, as well as the $400 iPhone SE. Really good deals for what you get out of them. But then they also do things like the Mac Pro or the Pro Stand or the Mac Pro wheels. It's all for the media, because a good argument I saw is that, okay, Apple releases these things anticipating the hate. They know that they're going to get backlash for this, and they know that people are going to be mad about the Mac Pro wheels. But what does that cause in return, right? Press. It means your name gets out there. It means that people all know about the $700 wheels. And people that don't like Apple are going to hover on them. They're going to be like, see, this is what's wrong. This is what's really wrong with Apple. This is the issue. They charge $700 for wheels. But in the process, people will start telling you what else you can buy from Apple for $700. Which, in a way, is kind of free marketing, right? In a way, if someone says, well, for $700, you could get an iPhone SE, an Apple Watch, and probably AirPods. Once you factor in tax and everything, you got a decent Apple ecosystem for $700. So if you make an article criticizing Apple, which sells well on the internet, you say, hey, it's $700 wheels, these are stupid, look what you can get for $700, unintentionally or indirectly, you're now advertising their products, benefiting them. It's amazing what discussion can come from wheels. I know. This is where I come in. So it helps the luxury segment. All press is good press. My point is, those luxury brands that we're comparing Apple to are not the most popular clothing brands. They're not the most popular. They may be the most expensive, but they're not most common purse bought. They're not the most common T-shirt bought. They're not the bulk majority. This is the issue I've always had with people saying, like, well, the reason Apple is successful is just because people like the logo and people buy for the logo. I don't think it's a fair comparison. This is where my opinion's coming in after the MKBHD thought process. Like Supreme makes expensive sportswear that people buy and then resell, and that in itself causes, inflated demand, even though the product itself isn't that amazing. But they are not like the most common. You don't see those everywhere. That's what's different with Apple. Is it like in countries like the United States, which are very heavily populated, you have more people using iOS than Android, kind of dominating the premium smartphone segment. Most people buying that, most people enjoying that. And I don't think the brand loyalty comes from nothing, especially if we're talking on a scale that large. I don't see as Apple is like, oh, they're just like Supreme. They're like Supreme, Gucci, these little luxury sportswears that try to create demand for products or accessories that make people think, oh, they're really valuable, even if they really aren't. They're not $1 trillion companies. Okay, they're not topping the charts for like most cash on hand ever for a brand. There's much more to it, I think, than brand. And I also do think there is some fundamental. It's not inherently true that all press is good press. Okay, it's kind of ridiculous to believe that to be true. You know, Samsung Note 7 exploding on people, that's not good press. Even though it's press, that's not good. Okay, and I think there is a way you can dominate the news cycle and you can get a lot of people's attention in a negative way, and I don't think it necessarily helps. You may disagree with me. This could be a huge philosophical discussion, a debate that we remain very much split on, but I don't think it helps that much. I think if you think of Apple to be like a Supreme or to be like a Gucci of like luxury sports, even if it costs Gucci or Supreme like $40 to make the shirt and they sell it for $300, I don't think that's the same thing as what Apple has done. I don't think the reason they're $1 trillion company is because they did what Supreme and Gucci did. Brand helps, and it's a part of making a successful product, but I don't think people are blindly loyal to brands for no reason. They stem from something. There's a reason a brand becomes well known, accepted, and bought and accepted. The thing is, like, middle-aged people that are just working, that aren't techies, will still be loyal to Apple because it's something they know, and they prioritize simplicity for the sake of, we just want to make devices that work for people, and there's not a bunch of bells and whistles. They do exactly what you want them to. And no, they don't prioritize customization, which Fandroids get angry about, but they do prioritize optimization so that people who don't care about phones, don't care about technology, are able to enjoy them for the longest amount of time. Someone like my wife who buys the iPhone SE, she will enjoy that for the next 6 years because she's not crazy about phones. She's not crazy about tech. You can't really say the same thing about luxury sportswear, whether it be Supreme or Gucci or companies that want to retain their premium luxury brand. There's not like average everyday people that are like, I need a new t-shirt, I'll pick up a Supreme, I guess. No. I mean, half the people that collect shoes or collect premium sportswear are doing it because it's a collector's item or because they can sell them and make a profit off of them, and there's a whole sub-community market around selling shoes and upcharging people and stuff like that. So that's why I don't compare the two. I don't like associating Apple because I don't think it's that. I don't like associating Apple with, it's just trying to be a luxury brand. Maybe someone in Apple marketing was like, we need to try to retain that luxury brand. But it is my personal belief, and of course there's no measurable way to prove this, it's my personal belief that the $700 wheels damage Apple's reputation more than they help them. They cause discussion, and I know on paper it's like, well, at least we're talking about it, right? It's like, if you're talking about them in a negative way, I don't think that helps sales. I think it basically gives fuel to the people who doubt you. I think it gives counter arguments to people who are frustrated with you. If they had a bad experience with iOS glitches or bugs, or they had a malfunctioning iOS device, and now they see, Apple's going to start charging $700 for wheels. That type of image and that type of pricing, I think, is going to make people who are on the fence about Apple go, okay, this company doesn't care. They're not prioritizing affordability. If they're charging $700 for wheels, I better get out of this ecosystem soon. I think that's what it causes more of than people going, $700 for wheels? Wow. What a luxurious brand. Oh, a $400 iPhone SE. Look, everyone, I have a luxury brand because they also charge $700 for wheels, but I have a $400 iPhone, so I'm actually really able to flex on this brand recognition. I find the former to be more common. People that are on the fence that are mad about Apple get more mad about Apple from headlines like that than there are people that just think, ooh, premium brand because wheels, because high-priced items. Let's see. I'll interact with the chat a little bit here. Let's see. CWAB says if you can afford a 5-bit figure PC, you can afford $700 wheels. It's not rocket science. If you want a good deal, you're not looking at the right products. Yeah, I don't think that makes it okay though. I don't think like if you're spending four figures, yes, but they start at its five figure PC is it starts at $6,000 to be fair. My point is there's a lot of uh, pro enterprise level hardware that is sold at extremely high price points for no good reason, just because they know the consumer demographic not the consumer, the professional demographic they're going at has high price tickets, has high price wallets. I don't think that makes it okay though. That's where I disagree. Just because other people do it, or just because you have money, I don't think that's logical. It would be like the same logic of saying, well, if someone buys an iPhone 11 Pro Max, they have $1,100 to spend, then we should charge them $200 for a phone case. I don't think that makes it okay, even if someone has the money. Clearly, if you spent, $1,200 on a phone, $200 to protect it, that's not that crazy, right? No, I don't. That's still stupid. For what it is, let alone let's acknowledge the wheels are not very good. They don't even lock, which is like 50% of the functionality of having wheels is that you'd be able to roll it, but also get it to stop rolling when you need to. Let's see. I agree it's stupid, but if people are going to call Apple out on it, they also need to call out companies like Red. I mean, they should, but Red is not a well-known company. Apple's an extremely popular company. People know about Apple all over the world. One of the most well-known brands on the planet. Sure, they're going to get more damaging reputation than a company like Red, which only certain people that are into cameras would know what that is. Let's see. I think if they just included them in the box, no one would have been talking about them. So it's not about the wheels; it's about the price. Partly, I still would be mad at the wheels. I would still think the wheels are stupid even if they cost $20. I would be angry about that. 20-Bitted said, honestly, I think it's priced well. It's $400 if you buy it with the Mac. Lamborghini's wheels cost so much more than regular car wheels. It's logical in comparison with the high price of the car itself. I guess I disagree there because, again, you're comparing Lamborghini to Apple, but Apple is not a luxury brand like Lamborghini is. Apple would be more in tune with what's one of the most popular car makers in the world, something like a Honda or a Toyota, due to popularity of Apple. It would be like Honda charging Lamborghini prices essentially for their sports variant. So, to me, I think Apple needs to lean more into responsible markets and not so much the luxury markets, because the luxury markets insinuate poor financial decisions, as in buying things that aren't worth it, or that the sum of their parts aren't really like that they don't matter. Like the Supreme shirt does not cost that much to make, but they charge a lot for it. That insinuates someone is either buying it as an investment, which that's not what the Mac Pro is. Let's not kid ourselves. If there was like limited edition, a lot of the reason that luxury brands are able to price clothes or items or purses or jeans or shoes and stuff like that really high is because they're very limited edition, right? They launched them for a period of time and they're only available for 30 days or a week or something, and you can't just buy one whenever you want. You can buy one, you can request to buy one, and then you get like accepted, you get chosen to buy one because they're so limited edition. That's not what Apple's doing here. They're selling these as an accessory. They're not limited time offer. These are probably going to be on Apple's store for years and years down the road. So I don't really compare it to that. Same with Lamborghini, which is advertising more as like a high-priced item. I don't really see the wheels, especially if they don't do basic wheel functionality. It would be like if Lamborghini made their wheels insanely more expensive. Also, like a Lamborghini doesn't work without wheels, so it's not really a fair comparison in that sense. A Mac Pro doesn't need wheels to interact with itself. But my point is, Apple's whole ideology from the very beginning, ever since they were founded, was to bring technology to masses and make life more simple. Was to like, hey, let's bring the computer into the home, or let's bring the computer into the pocket, or now onto your wrist, or now in your ears, and make things that just work and you don't have to think about them. I think they need to lean more towards that. That's where they got their groundwork. That's where they became popular from, was to make technology easy to understand and simple for everyone. it wasn't around making super limited edition luxury items. That's not what brought Apple where it is today. So I think, even as an Apple sheep, even as someone who has been known to defend Apple, and many times when most would say they shouldn't be defended, I don't defend them here because I think this is straying away from what made Apple what they are today. And I don't think it's a fair juxtaposition to say that it's like a luxury brand because they're not the same kind of company. It's not the same thing. Let's see. They made it because not many people will buy it, so they have to make the price higher. E.g., iPhone 10 price hike. I still don't believe that, even with the manufacturing parts that go into the Mac Pro wheels, I don't believe that it actually costs $700 to produce. And you shouldn't either. Seriously. Do not believe that just stainless steel and rubber with, the ability to pivot is a $700 product. It's not true. The person who decided the wheels won't lock is probably the same person that runs their PC on a carpet. Yeah, maybe. Again, I from the get-go, I hope you guys understand, I think the whole fundamental idea of the product existing is stupid. I don't think a machine with handles like that they have on the Mac Pro and something that doesn't have a battery or anything like why does it need wheels at all? I don't get it. I know that not that many people would buy it, but it's a little bit different when it's like $9 headphone jack adapter versus $700 wheels. There's no electronics in it. I'm trying to understand why someone would need to move it that regularly. That's what I can't understand. I'm sorry, Drew, but you've not been an Apple sheep for some time now. You left the gang. Yeah, maybe I've grown tired of certain things they do, or maybe I've realized I don't want to tick people off unnecessarily. That's not necessarily true. I mean, there's a ton of stuff Apple has done in the past that I still defended. The notch. A lot of people hated on the notch. I defended that. Do you guys remember the time when John Prosser said Apple sucks now and it's your fault because they didn't get rid of the notch? Who remembers those days? I remember those days. It was like, Apple sucks now because there's a notch and they couldn't figure out a way to get rid of it. I'm like, really? This? Pointed out that all press is good press. It's not true. It's not always true. It's a general blanket statement that's like, hey, at least people are talking about us, but it is not. No, it is not generally true at all. Bengate around the iPhone 6, was that good press? Was that good for Apple? I don't think so. Their stock price was impacted by that. Let's see. Did they mention the wheels when they announced the Mac Pro, or did they just release them quietly? I can't remember. Well, when they announced the Mac Pro, it was almost a year ago now. It was June of 2019, and they did showcase both. They showed one Mac Pro with regular feet, and then in the demo table, they had another one with wheels, but they did not say how much the wheels cost as an add-on, and they didn't say how much they would cost separately, so they didn't give us a price until more recently. Is it because you're an undercover Team Pixel boy? Yeah, I don't have a Pixel 4, but yes, I'm Team Pixel. No, but the headphone jack was another great example. Apple removed the headphone jack. I was for that. I was okay with that. Same with the MacBook Pro adopting. They went all in on Thunderbolt 3. I defended that, and I still defend that to this day. I don't think that the MacBook Pros should have kept around. Just keep around one USB-A port, or keep around the SD card slot, or keep around the HDMI port. I was like, nope. This was a good move. They should have embraced it. And I think we'll get more times like that in the Telosa future, but this is not one of them. I think what Apple did with the Mac Pro and the Pro Display was out of the ordinary. I'll put it that way. Some people may be like, Apple's always been expensive and too much and stuff like that. I don't believe that. I think I think the Mac Pro is not what they normally do. Same with the Pro Display. Let's in the $1,000 stand. Chris Norton donated 4 bits. We all have different opinions. We buy what we like. Yep, that'll always be the case. If Apple put a slow-fee button on the Mac Pro wheels, would you buy it? Absolutely. Of course. I would buy 10 of them. How about putting a second screen on the back so you can take selfies with the main camera and move the front notch? That would be cool. That doesn't fix the Face ID problem, but yeah. I see they roll. Let's see. So yeah, I defended Apple for the notch. I defended them for removing the headphone jack. I defended AirPods. I never thought AirPods were expensive, and as soon as AirPods came out, I was like, these are going to be a top seller. These are going to be a hit. These are going to be amazing. And I felt like everyone was disagreeing with me at the time. When I made those videos defending the AirPods and I was talking about how like cool they were, everyone was telling me how stupid they look, way too expensive. Apple's dead now. They're going to flop. No one likes AirPods. The battery life sucks. And then they grew into a blossoming product. So there's still some significant moments in Apple's history that I defended that ended up being justified, I think. There were also some times I defended them when I shouldn't have. Things like the Bengate thing, and I wasn't really well versed on touch disease and that kind of thing, and that blew into the Rossman drama and that kind of thing. It wasn't worth it. I shouldn't have gone there. Using your Mac Pro as a dumbbell until you get buff enough to easily carry it around $0. Exactly. Thank you. Why can't you just pick it up? I just don't believe anyone is buying the Mac Pro and moving it around on the same floor space that often. If someone's moving it around, are they really going to be on the same plane, like the same floor of your next desk? If you can spend $700 on wheels, you can probably buy a second Mac Pro and just have it for your other desk. It's a fundamentally flawed product. You need to turn the phone around to use Face ID. Yeah, that won't work. No, thank you. How about we answered that? Let's see. My Mac needs to come with a slow feed button. Thank you. I appreciate that. Man, I can't believe like it's coming up on a year and I have still not seen a Mac Pro or Pro display in person. Apple stores have not been opened yet, and I haven't been to an Apple store since September when the new iPhone launched. So yeah, I've still not seen a Pro display. Is Touch ID working for you? Yeah, it works fine now. I still prefer Face ID, but I don't have any issues with Touch ID anymore. Wheels are the same as the Gold Watch. It's just a luxury positioning anchor. You know what I notice about the Gold Watch? They don't make them anymore. They stopped doing that. Actually, the Gold Watch has more motivation to be a luxury item because of how rare it is. If you try to look up anywhere if you can buy a solid gold original Apple Watch edition back from 2015. I mean, you can't find them. And if any of them goes up for sale, they're going to be way more than what you paid for them, which leans a bit more into the luxury segment. Wearables, watches in general lean more into fashion, and that can relate more to the luxury brands. But wheels, no, that's not. It's not a limited edition, like exclusive collector's item. You can see one in person if you buy one. Test the Apple return policy. No, thank you, not worth it. Let's see. The Mac Pro wheels feel like Apple product. Apple would have made under Steve. Yeah, to be honest with you, the wheels do feel more like a Steve Jobs product than a Tim Cook product. Will you buy the over-ear headphones rumored to come out, the AirPods Studio? I will more than likely review them, but I don't expect to buy and keep them. I already have 2 pairs of headphones, which is too much to me. I already have AirPods 2 and AirPods Pro, which I'll jump between depending on what I'm doing. I don't have a need for over-ears. I'm trying to think of something they could do with the over-ears that would make me want them, but the only thing, in my opinion, over-ears had going for them over AirPods was active noise cancellation. Now the AirPods have active noise cancellation. I never preferred wearing over-ears because they mat down my hair and it hurts my head a little bit with prolonged listening. I've always preferred the in-ears because they just were less, space consuming and they were way more portable and I could fit them in my pocket. I don't travel that much in the first place, so no, I will not be keeping AirPods Studio, but I'll probably buy them to review. Chris Norton donated 100 bits. I have an iPhone and PC because are expensive. Okay, there's your logic. There's your good reason. Then why don't you prefer the 11 Pro Max? It's more expensive than the phone you were telling me about before. The wheels are so nice. They don't lock, dude. Are you just going to hold the wheels and stare at them? Let's see. What do you think about Quinn from Snazzy Labs cutting the stupid bar in the rear that won't let you open the Mac Pro without disconnecting all the cables? Yeah, I saw that video. I don't have any issues with that as long as it keeps working. What's the problem? But I mean, I would not be shocked if Apple didn't want to repair or replace that top piece if he brought it back to them and he cut it off or something like that. Anytime you do something that Apple tells you not to do with their hardware, I would not expect them to help you with it. So that's what I'm basically assuming when you do that kind of stuff. You're kind of throwing out some of your repairability there. If you're counting on Apple to help you with something, don't do some type of heavy modification. The same way, if you get bugs or if you run into software problems when you jailbreak your iPhone, I don't think Apple should be required to help you with that. Put it that way. But I don't understand why you need to pull off the lid of the Mac Pro while stuff is plugged into it. I guess just because people want to look at it, but I believe the external cover to the Mac Pro has some type of dust filters that prevent dust and stuff from getting in there. So that's likely why they don't want you using it with the thing off. But yeah, I wouldn't test the return policy on the Mac Pro either. Over-ear headphones look better in my opinion. I don't care about the way they look. I don't look at myself when I'm listening to music, so I don't mind. When it comes to Mac accessories, third party is usually the way to go. Fundamentally, I've been overall disappointed with everything they did with the Mac Pro. I feel like it should not have been called the Mac Pro. I feel like they created a new product. They didn't replace or revive an old one. In the old days, the cheese grater Mac Pro, $2,000 to $3,000. Yeah, you could spec it up pretty high in price. And then the trash can Mac Pro started at $3,000. You could spec it up to around $6,000. So it grew with inflation a little bit. I expected the next gen Mac Pro to get a bit more expensive, but I was not expecting it to start at $6,000 and go up to 55. That's like a giant spike when it comes to the demographic that you're catering towards. That I don't think it should be considered it's not a sequel to the Mac Pro. It's a new product. It's a new category. It's a new demographic they've never gone after before. Same with the Pro Display XDR. They're choosing a tiny, tiny sliver of the market, whereas things like the Apple Cinema display, which I'm using right now, or the Apple Thunderbolt display, those were not reference monitor competitors. They were meant to be like MacBook accessories. They were more meant to be like, hey, you want an external monitor with your iMac, you can use the Thunderbolt or the Cinema display, or use your MacBook, but you want to have a bigger screen to work with when you're at your desk. Well, you can dock it into the Thunderbolt display. That's what they were catered towards. And I feel like that market, the true Mac Pro, like what the trash can and the cheese grater, originally the market they were catered towards, Apple doesn't cater towards that anymore. And they made the Mac Pro into something that it wasn't. 100 bits from Chris. My phone will last for years. That's good. Most phones should last for years. Remember when Linus intentionally broke the iMac Pro display and was surprised when Apple didn't want to fix it and started being correct? I remember that whole thing. Part of the reason I don't do reaction videos anymore or response videos is just because of that drama it creates, because clearly there's a huge number of people that thought Apple was in the wrong there. I happen to not think they were in the wrong. I thought that if Apple tells you not to take apart the iMac Pro and open it and start working on it yourself, there's a reason. And it's not because, well, we'll charge you. It's because we're not going to work on it if you do stuff with it we don't want you to do. So it's also a really, really dumb argument as to why to not get the iMac Pro, because people kept acting like Apple has zero service for the iMac Pro, where that's not the case. I mean, if you dropped it and broke it, which again is an incredibly rare thing that would happen, but even if you just dropped it and broke, Apple would have serviced the thing. It was the fact that they intentionally took it apart and then broke it that Apple was like, yeah, no, we're not going to service machines that you've tinkered with and opened up and messed with yourself, because that's not our top priority, and you're not clearly authorized to be doing that kind of stuff. So do not buy an all-in-one machine if you plan on opening it up and tinkering with it yourself. That's my point. So I wasn't surprised that Apple denied servicing that that computer, but I guess some people think that no matter what you do to the machine, Apple should spend their money and time on fixing it. But I was willing to pay for it, so it's fine. It's like, they don't care if you're willing to pay for it. It's their time. It's their attention. They don't want to tinker with stuff that you're ripping apart yourself. So it just didn't make sense to me personally. But RCA 950, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Keep up the good work. Also, did you see Musk's tweets about moving headquarters to Texas or Nevada, and he basically confirmed Texas is the new factory spot. Yeah, I did. That's actually the next Talos of EV video, which I'm going to edit right after this live stream. I was talking about Tesla moving, and I did see those tweets. It's a hot subject for a lot of people. I think that all intentions are pretty good, but at the end of the day, I don't think Alameda County Alameda County's decision was the right one. And I think that if they would have paid close attention to how Tesla handled COVID-19 in Giga Shanghai and how they were being extra careful and instigating tons of new health and safety measures and not even bringing most of the factory line back to work, they would have understood why it needed to reopen and that it could be done safely and responsibly, because they've proven it can be done safely and responsibly in other countries. So I just felt like people were not being wise about it, but now, California needs to come up with decent logic for Tesla to stay, because they don't have good logic for them right now. Grant and iPad, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Did you watch MKBHD's video about it? Yes, as I addressed at the beginning of the video. You can rewatch this stream on the Tailosive podcast channel if you missed the beginning, but yeah, I went through the whole walkthrough of why people don't like the Mac Pro wheels, Marquez's response to it and justification for it, and explaining why they are the way they are, and then my response to Marquez's video explaining why I don't think that counts and why I still think they're bad, despite what Marquez said about them. Let's see. Opinions on Apple stretching the size of the Apple Watch so it's more like a rectangular landscape display. I don't know. I feel like that might cover up more of the arm, and I don't know. I would need to see a use case as to why watchOS could be better as a landscape display. At this point, I feel like it works fine as a portrait mode display. So no, I don't have a good reason against it, but I need a good reason for it. I mean, I thought about that a long time ago. If they made like an Apple Watch cuffling, that the screen was a lot bigger, it was more like a phone, and you could kind of have like a full-size keyboard and stuff like that, but it's probably just too expensive and too complicated. They've made the number one watch in the world right now, so I feel like I don't have authority or ability to tell them right from wrong. Here's what you should do. They know exactly what to do. Let's see. A round Apple Watch would be a nice option. I think it runs into too many software issues when you do everything round, because you can make a round watch face on a square watch, but you can't really do the modularity and when you read texts and you scroll through settings and stuff like that on a round watch, it complicates everything. Let's see. Hello, Drew. Sad day for me a year ago. I was super happy with all my friends. No, I'm not able to. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks, Cyberplace. Thank you for the bits, though. Everyone's quarantined. The new Fitbit kind of looks like what I'm on about. It's like 1.5 times the width of the Apple Watch. Well, Apple Watch outsells the Fitbit, so if Apple brings 120 hertz to the iPhone in the fall, how long do you think it'll be until they bring it to the Mac? I don't know if ever. I mean, it definitely doesn't sound like something they want to prioritize. I mean, the main reason you would bring a higher refresh rate display to a Mac or a computer, laptop, or desktop is for gaming, and the Macs have never been meant for gaming or good at gaming. Even if they wanted Apple Arcade on the Mac sucks. I tried it. It's terrible, and it's definitely not built for it. And with the MacBooks especially, if they're running Intel CPUs, 120 hertz would not be great on the battery life. iPhone battery is great, so I feel like they can add 120 hertz to that and not really compromise on too many things. I still think the battery would be good even at 120 hertz. So with the Mac, not that case. If they do 120 hertz on the Mac, it would have to be on an ARM Mac, I think. It would have to be on something that they have control over inside and out, CPU, GPU. They would need more control compared to what they have control over on the Mac right now. I guess they don't have to worry about battery life on desktops, but my point about, I made a whole video on how Apple has neglected the iMac line. We can't even get thin bezels on the iMac, so I'm sure 120 hertz is even further away than that. Face ID would be nice, but again, they've very much neglected the Mac lineup. It's 2020, and they're still shipping them with spinning hard drives, and I think Apple clearly doesn't want to prioritize desktop Macs or monitors that much. I mean, the only monitor they sell now is $6,000, and it's all about being a reference monitor. It's not really something most people would use or think is worth it. So it's not a big priority for them. If they sell a monitor for $6,000 and it's 60 hertz, I think that I think that says a lot about their priorities when it comes to refresh rate on the Mac. So iPhone, though, to be competitive with other Androids and other flagships, and the fact that they've been doing it on the iPad for so many years now, and they're quickly running out of things to add to the iPhone. I mean, I was very frustrated today with how people were missing the point I made in today's video. I swear people will not read or listen to anything I say, and they'll just respond to a video thumbnail. It's like, it was killing me today. So many people were just like, but they will get 120 hertz. I'm like, I'm not saying they're not getting 120 hertz. The whole video is like, they have to get 120 hertz. But that's not how people interpreted it. So maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm not making videos correctly. But I feel like if the Pro iPhones don't have 120 hertz, then there's going to be very, very little reason for people to buy them, because there's already not selling great compared to the iPhone 11. And they still have advantages like bigger screen, smaller screen, OLED, thinner bezels. They all have those advantages now, and they're still not even selling like a third as good as the iPhone 11. So if we remove a ton of the advantages they already have, they're going to sell even worse than the 11 Pro compared to the 11. But people seem to think that that meant that the iPhone 12 was going to flop. And I got a billion comments today that was like, average consumers don't care about 120 hertz. And I'm like, I know. That's why they will make the 60 hertz iPhone 12. I'm referring to the 12 Pro. The video title is The 12 Pro Will Flop, not the 12 will flop. And I didn't even say the 12 Pro Max will flop. It's like, specifically that 6.1 inch model will not do well. Yes, I watched Everything Apple Pro's video like a whole day. I watched it when it came out before I did that video. And I referenced Everything Apple Pro's video in today's video. And there were still people asking, well, did you see Everything Apple? Did you watch mine? Like, understand my argument first and then respond. It's like, you basically, what you say in the video doesn't even matter these days. It's like, you have to summarize your entire opinion and subject in the title and thumbnail, and then no one will ever look past that. They're not going to listen to anything you have to say. They just pause the video and comment. Hey, Gaberjon, thank you for the 13 bits. Do we need promotion on the Apple Watch? Promotion everything? I don't think it would make that big a difference, because there's not a lot of motion that goes on the Apple Watch. But, I mean, if they're running out of things to add, maybe they'll do that someday. I mean, they already got a variable refresh rate on the Series 5, so they'll probably get around to that if they run out of things to add. But that's the problem with the iPhone right now. If they're running out of reasons and features to add to these things. So if they bring OLED and the fast CPUs and the thinner bezels and the new design to the cheaper iPhones, and they don't add anything or do anything extra, even if it is for the tech nerds, I don't care that most people can't see 120 hertz. I know that. I'm just saying, if you're justifying the purchase for the pros, you got to keep up with the competition. You have to add something extra. You have to add something else. Because if there's literally no difference between the displays, yeah, they will flop. Camera's not a good enough reason. Cyberplace, thank you for that 100 bits. I have an idea for Apple. It's not related to Mac. It would be an iPhone and iPad. It would be considered the Knowledge app, where it would have the weather, the time Siri, but you would still be able to access Siri and a bunch of other things like that. Huh. That sounds interesting. Be considered the Knowledge app. Is that kind of like the Google Home Hub? What's it called? Yeah, the Home Mini. No, not the Home Mini. Google Home Hub. That kind of thing. Let's see. Your friend has a budget of $850. What phone do you recommend she gets? 6.1 inch 60 hertz this year, or an 11 when it's a year old? Well, I mean, I don't know what your girlfriend prioritizes. I mean, if you just care about having the phone for the longest amount of time, I would say wait for the 12, because it sounds like it's going to be a good deal. 5 nanometer chipset is going to get lots and lots of years of updates, so there's expected to be a pretty big overhaul with the A14 chip. So if you can wait, go ahead and wait. Do you still use AirPods Pro? I do, yes. I used them a lot yesterday because we just recorded the Talos of Tech podcast and the Talos of EV podcast. So in total, I used them for like 4 hours straight. And yeah, they work great. They don't stay in my ears as well as the regular AirPods, but they stay in enough that it's fine. They work. And I always use them when I mow the lawn, which it's super, super helpful when you're operating machinery to have active noise cancellation. It just completely cancels out the sound of the lawnmower. So Sounds wonderful. Very glad I bought them, and yes, I still use them. Everybody saying 60 hertz makes me think it's a 90/120 hertz. Is this true? Not from what reports are saying. From what I've heard, Apple is not going to settle with something in between. At least that's what Max Weinbach said, and I think John Prosser said something along those lines, that they're basically going to do 120 hertz or they're not going to do it at all. And I'm so annoyed that when everything Apple Pro says something is confirmed, everyone takes it as confirmed. I mean, seriously, just watch his videos from May of last year and watch how many things he said confirmed about that didn't end up happening. Like, he will say confirmed for anything. I hope he's right. I hope it's 120 hertz. I think it's likely now. I'm glad to hear more reports claiming that it's going to be 120 hertz. But at the same time, like, it's one guy. All right. If we're getting multiple sources all saying the same thing, that's when we get closer to saying, okay, it's confirmed. But when it's just one guy saying it's 120 hertz and he doesn't have a perfect track record, I would not start running around saying, everyone, it's confirmed, it's totally confirmed, because I saw it in a title. It said confirmed. Philip's never wrong. He's never reported anything that ended up not happening, right? John has not said 120 hertz is confirmed, for the record. If you guys want to hold John Prosser to saying like, oh, he never messes up, he said that they have the hardware for 120 hertz, but they're not for sure on if they're going to do it yet. They haven't decided. So John still says it's up in the air. So if you were looking for a reason to say it's not confirmed, John hasn't said it's 100% happening. Stop watching his videos because I don't like his editing. It's way too choppy. Well, my editing's choppy too, but I just mean it's way too early in the year to consider anything confirmed. I always hesitate using the word confirmed, and pretty much the only time I will ever use confirmed for a subject or a title or something is when it's from Apple themselves. Like when there was that leak of the screen protector for iPhone 7, 8, and iPhone SE, when we saw that, I was like, okay, that's from Apple. That's directly coming from Apple. It's not a leaker. It's not a source. It's not a rumor. It's directly from Apple. It says, screen protector for 4.7-inch iPhone, and then it lists SE. I make a video after that says iPhone SE name confirmed because we got it from Apple. Same with AirTags. AirTags, I would say, are a confirmed product because we've seen videos from Apple in their support page that reference AirTags directly. That's not a rumor. That's not someone tweeting out, hey guys, they're going to be called AirTags. I wouldn't call it confirmed if just some random Twitter account or even someone with a decent track record came forward and said, this is what they're going to be called. If someone with a credible track record says something like John, who says AirPods Studio is the name, I would say, okay, that's the rumored name. That's what analysts or that's what leakers are saying it's going to be called. If we got a software update and within code it said, you can connect to multiple AirPods like AirPods Pro and AirPods Studio, and it was within iOS code, then I would be like, okay, it's confirmed. That's different. When it's just someone who's saying it's going to happen, that's not confirmed. Especially when it's this many months ahead of the launch. Because John clearly has sources inside at Apple, and he's saying they haven't decided yet. They said they want to do 120 hertz, but if it doesn't reach their standards of battery life and performance, then they won't do it, and they'll leave it off. So, yeah. Bilateral wireless charging was another good example. That was something that so many people were like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. I believe everything Apple Pro said that too. He was like, bilateral wireless charging is confirmed on the iPhone 11. It wasn't. I also remember them saying Face ID is going to work from all angles. It'll work in landscape and upside down. This is for sure happening. This is confirmed on the iPhone 11. Nope. Didn't happen. What I'm worried about is Apple disabling the 120 hertz refresh rate last minute, like reverse wireless charging. It got disabled allegedly last year with the 11s. Thank you, Saren. Thank you. It's not confirmed, people. It's likely. I'm hoping it's happening. The point of today's video was it has to happen. It has to. If it doesn't, 12 Pro will flop. That's the takeaway. Somehow, along those lines, between that message, people took the video title as iPhone 12 will not have 120 hertz, even though I never said that. I said it has to. Oh yeah, the mini Apple Pencil. Apple Pencil confirmed coming to the iPhone. What are the AirPods 3 meant to be? John said they're ready to go. That's literally all he said. So I don't. That's what I don't understand about them. Is like, I'm guessing if there's nothing to be said about them, that they probably are just going to be like a CPU refresh. They're going to update the silicon on the inside, and they'll have longer battery or lower latency and maybe a different starting price. That's what I imagine they are, because all anyone will say about new AirPods is that they're ready to go. What's different about them? I don't know, but they're ready to go. It's like, okay, something's coming. New AirPods of some kind are dropping. I'm guessing if there's no leaks of new design, there's no leaks of, new look or new features or anything. I'm just guessing it's incremental improvements on AirPods Gen 2. That's what I'm guessing. Everything Apple Pro said that the 10s would for sure have smaller bezels. I remember that too. That's why I unsubscribed a long time ago. I'll tune in occasionally. His renders are great. I love the renders and the models he makes, but at the same time, he will say all kinds of things are confirmed that are not confirmed. So, let's see. I'm holding out buying some new AirPods because Prosser says they have some ready to ship. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. He's been very accurate with more recent launches. He's still very new to the leak game, so it's not really confirmed how he's going to do long-term predictions. But with short-term stuff, he's usually been pretty accurate with Apple. So I would say it's safe to assume that there's going to be some type of Gen 3 AirPods in the next month or so. So it'd be not a bad idea to hold off just to see what happens. What do you think of FPT and John's content leaking? He was saying Apple isn't too happy about it. Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. It's nice having holdups. It's nice having not holdups, but warnings and like dates and more like concrete. I prefer leakers when they're a bit more concrete. What I don't like with any leaker, I have nothing against John personally. This is all just when it comes to John as a leaker. I don't really like vague stuff. I don't really like any leaker when they just say something vague or not very precise or specific, because it just annoys me. It just comes across as like, look, I have attention. I give me attention. I know stuff, but I'm not going to tell you what that stuff is. My favorite kind of leaking is the majority of what CoinX does. I didn't like it when CoinX was like, but there's one more thing, because then that just let us go to wildly speculate. I like it when John did stuff like iPhone SE coming April 15th. I'm like, cool, got it. April 15th, we got it. Or he's like, it's dropping today at 8 a.m. Okay, 8 a.m. Got it. Can prepare for it. I like when there's concrete stuff that they can leak forward. And if they're trying to protect their source, don't tweet. I don't want to hear that you saw something. I don't want to hear that I know some stuff, or I've seen some things, because then it just feels like I have to ask follow-up questions. I don't want to ask follow-up questions. I just want the information, because my whole job is built around efficiency and about being like, what's the news? Is there news or is there not news? Well, I can't tell you about this. Then don't bring it up. Don't say anything if you don't have anything to say. If there's something you can't say to protect your source, then don't hint at it. Come forward when you have something. That's how I feel about it. 100 bits. Apple does not like everything Apple Pro. Notice why he is never invited to events. Yeah, I'm sure they don't like him for all sorts of various reasons, but that's not a great reason to not leak content. I mean, I feel like leaking stuff is not necessarily a great, you will get a lot of attention very quickly, but it also puts a lot of pressure on you in the future. If, from a creator standpoint, if a bunch of people expect you to be coming out with new leaks or new updates regularly, and you don't have any, or your sources decide this is getting too dangerous, I don't want to give you anything anymore because Apple's mad or my boss is mad and they're finding out about this stuff, it puts a lot of power outside of your control, is my point. That's why, I've been contacted by sources in the past, and I've been contacted by people that work within Apple and want to give me details and stuff, but I don't, I tried it once and I didn't really like it. I didn't want to be a YouTuber that just came forward and always said, believe me whenever I say that, or I'm always right. I don't want to be looked at as the guy with the great track record or anything like that. I want videos talking about my opinion or my speculation because I can't be wrong on those things. Essentially, like I'm an expert at my opinion and no one can take away that from me. My thoughts or my opinions on a lineup or where a product is going or where a lineup is gonna be, like my opinions on that I don't have to get from some source. I don't have to get from some person within, and I don't need to text them and ask them, "You got anything new for me today?" Like I don't want to put all the authority and all of my dependence on growth on someone else. I would rather all that be internal because it's something that can't be taken away. So I feel like it's exciting and it's cool when you get contacted from people internally and you make reports on it and you get a lot of attention that way. But at the same time, I feel like that you become more of a middleman in that way. Basically, I want people to watch my videos or watch my channel because they're interested in what I have to say, not because I know somebody and he has cool things to say. That's the main takeaway. I think speculation is more fun in the first place. It's more exciting that way. Let's see. Similar to how there's tablet mode for Windows that just changes the UI to make it easier to use with touch, since ARM will result in a very similar apps between iPadOS and macOS. What if Apple made a Surface Book type laptop that was like a Mac when in laptop mode, but it would switch to the UI of an iPad when in tablet mode? I feel like they just did that. It's called the iPad Pro with Magic Keyboard case. They would rather just perfect that. I don't think they need to make a Mac that also does that. I think if you want a 2-in-1 iPad Pro with Magic Keyboard case, that's it. Let's see. Thank you for the bit. Let's see. Why would Apple make Beats headphones if they are deciding to make Apple branded headphones alongside the pre-existing Beats headphones? Unless they might just make Power Beats types of Beats. Whoa, there's so many beats in that sentence. Bears Beats Battlestar Galactica. I think Apple is okay with making products that compete with the Beats lineup. Just because they made AirPods, that didn't stop Beats from making wireless headphones either, or Power Beats Pro. So Apple, Beats makes those little pill speakers, but that doesn't stop Apple from making the HomePod. They don't have to incorporate all of them together. I mean, John's saying that the ultimate plan is to eventually get rid of Beats entirely and just make Apple branded headphones for everything. So that sounds like something Apple would do to me because they like simplicity and they like just having basic stuff like this is just headphones. This is just AirPods. They don't want to have AirPods, Power Beats, and Beats Solo 3s and AirPods Studio. Like, it makes sense to me that they would want to move all of it into just the audio department and not have different brands, even if it's under the same. It's all owned by Apple, so why do you need different branding? I could see why they want to move out of the Beats branding and start making just their own AirPod stuff because the brand recognition of AirPods is huge. So that's huge. Still Beats to Samsung. They'll just be rebranded as AirPods. Well, it sounds like they could be working on AirPods with, more sport design, kind of like just they're taking the Power Beats Pro and converting them into AirPods and kind of ditching the Beats branding because they own them now. They adopted the technology, got people comfortable with them. Now they don't need them anymore. Why sell one named headphones when you can sell two? Diversity. Beats are kind of like the playground. They can mess around with stuff over there that they don't want to do on their first-party products. Let's see. 79 bits from Cyberplays. I would have had this question. Do YouTubers use their main YouTube account, in this case, Taylor Tech, or do you have another account with YouTube Red? There's no go-to way to do it. There's all kinds of ways. I've seen plenty of YouTubers that just use their main channel for channel stuff, but then they have a personal YouTube account for just commenting and stuff like that. I've done both. I've had a personal YouTube account for a while, but I didn't like having to log in back and forth, so I just decided to keep using my Taylor Tech. That's the biggest one. That's the account I use the most, so that's the account I use with YouTube Premium, and that's what I watch all my videos on. So that's all under one account, I guess. Wondering what Apple would do with their future back-to-school deals. They usually give away Beats headphones with an iPad or Mac purchase, but if the Beats brand no longer existed, I don't see them giving away AirPods for free. They might. Maybe if Beats weren't around, they would give away for free. I mean, it's all under their roof. It's all owned by Apple, so if they do Beats giveaways, why not do Apple, AirPods Studio giveaways? Why not? I don't think there's a really good reason that they only did it with Beats and not AirPods. I think that was just the partnership they wanted to do with Beats. Apple will do with Beats what Razer did with Nextbit. They'll take the technology and design that they introduced and put their own spin on it under their brand. Well said, Yusuf. Thank you. Yes, that's pretty much how it'll work. Um, let's see. Remember a person emailed you about the Mac Pro before it came out and he said it was going to be like a Mac Mini but stackable? I do. I remember that whole thing. I followed it very closely and obviously it did not end up happening. But um, the whole process was frustrating to me because the guy, if he was a troll, which is totally possible, clearly knew his stuff, though. That was the thing. And he was not asking for credit, he was not asking for attention, and he was not listing things that just some kid on the internet would come up with. He was listing, like, incredibly precise and intricate measurements when it came to ports and I/O and modules. And he also referenced that there were multiple different teams uh, developing different versions of the Mac Pro, and one of them was more like the cheese grater, and one of them was stackable. So Apple just went with the cheese grater one. But the whole time, though, I didn't like that people just kept asking me for like updates and here's what Drew thinks, and then articles run with it, and this is what they're gonna do, and this is what they're gonna do. I never wanted to be just the guy that had all the inside scoops and come forward. Like, I didn't really like the way it was handled, so when other people come forward, I'm like, I don't want to do there. I don't want to go there. I'd rather speculate and I'd rather just formulate my opinion based on several sources rather than just rely on a couple and say, oh, these guys are accurate, these guys are right. So um, I'm passionate about the marketing and the way Apple positions different products in the lineup. Like a good juxtaposition would be like a typical like everything Apple Pro style channel. They would make the video called 120 hertz confirmed, right? Because I found a source and my source said that it's confirmed, so it's happening. Whereas my video today is more something that I'm more passionate about. Is like, let me explain why they need to do 120 hertz. Because if they don't, 12 Pro's in trouble. That to me is a far more interesting topic than just saying, hey guys, I talked to a guy and he said 120 hertz is happening. I don't I don't find that very interesting because then it just turns into this scoreboard of who's right, who's wrong, who's right, who's wrong, and going in an endless circle of he said this, and we don't know who to believe, and this guy was right about this, but this guy was wrong about this, and I just don't like it. It turns into an ego fest very quickly. It turns into a very like, I'm right, you should believe me, I'm right though, I'm right, and I don't want to be like that guy who's just screaming about being right. I just want to bring up points about the lineup and like, look, Apple doesn't keep around the XS and XS Max. Why? Because they're too similar to the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max. That's why they discontinued them, because Apple knows camera upgrades aren't enough. There has to be a display differentiation between the different models. And as we saw, if you saw my tweet earlier about sales of the iPhone 11 compared to the 11 Pro, there's already a huge gap there. And there is noticeable benefits to the display on the 11 Pro series. So if there's not even any advantages on the display front, they're going to flop even harder. I find that more interesting personally. But I notice you're very passionate about tech in the attic days slowly go downhill. Rightly so due to the decline in innovation. But I see the spark back in you on the EV channel. Hope you get your Tesla as soon as possible, dude. Well, thank you. My passion for tech hasn't changed that much. I think figuring out what videos have worked and what attitudes and what personalities are successful versus, when you're making videos that you're just doing for fun and it's not your job and it's not your livelihood, you behave differently because you're like, yeah, I'm going to tick off these people, or I don't care if this is cringy because not that many people are watching. But once you have tens and thousands of people and sometimes hundreds of thousands of people watching one video, you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go that cringy all the time. Sometimes I'll give in to the cringe, or sometimes I'll be over exaggerated about something. But it's like there's a delicate balance there to when it's something you do when you're off of work versus when it's something you do during work. So yeah, that's how it changed. People change over time. It's not really a right belief in my opinion because I think Apple will still use Samsung on their Pros. What's not right belief? You don't know about the resolution quality of the displays. I assume it will be lower resolution. No, I mean not if they're the same size. If they go with Pentile OLED displays, we had a long discussion about this in the Discord. Pentile OLED displays are cheaper than non-Pentile OLED displays, like the Apple Watch. especially when you're making them at this scale. And they're going with BOE because they don't charge the extreme premium that Samsung does on their OLED displays. But Apple invested a ton of money into BOE to meet their standards. And if you don't have the I think it's 458 pixels per inch, if you don't have that pixel density on OLED, it's way more noticeable and way more pixelated than it would be on something like an LCD with a liquid retina display, which means that just because BOE is manufacturing the displays doesn't mean it will be lower resolution than the Pros. And at the end of the day, resolution is not the big deciding factor. I feel like the biggest difference between 11 and 11 Pro is not necessarily the pixel density. It has more to do with the colors, the OLED, the brightness, the bezels, more things like that than the pixel density. Let's see. What if John Prosser Bitcoin X before he became a leaker in a way? That'd be funny. Let's see. Yeah, but my excitement for EV is definitely there. I think that phones have peaked, and I think that this year is kind of a big year for iPhone. Some people may disagree, but I think that this year is going to be kind of similar to the iPhone 10. Probably not at the same scale of upgrades we're getting, but in the sense that there's a lot of changes happening and aligning at one time. They're doing a lot of firsts. 2017, that was the first time they introduced 3 iPhones at the same event. And this is the first time they're doing 4 iPhones at the same event. This is the first time they're going to the squared off since the iPhone 5S days. And this is the first time they're doing the 5nm chip and bringing OLED to the whole lineup and LiDAR. Like, there's so many things lining up that I don't think 2021 is going to be this exciting. I think next year's iPhone is going to be so boring leading up to it. I mean, if they do 120 hertz this year, that'll be great. I'll be really happy about it. But if they don't, then that will be my number one feature for 2021, I guess. But if we get 120 hertz this year, then I don't know what they're going to do in 2021. I can't think. I don't think they're going to push it to 240 hertz. Honestly, I don't. But yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for them to top this year. I feel like they're doing a lot of stuff people have wanted for a while, a lot of upgrades, and it's going to be hard to get excited for next year because next year is going to be a S year for sure. It's going to be just about small, incremental, tiny differences. Let's see. If the price leaks are true, that means the 5G iPhone will be cheaper than the OnePlus. That is bizarre. You're right. That is weird. 2021 will be portless. That's not exciting. That's not something to look forward to. No one cares. I mean, I don't care if the port on my phone is Lightning, USB-C, or gone because I just charge it via wireless. I mean, I personally don't think they're going to go portless next year because they're not going to have enough reasons for people to upgrade. If the leaks and rumors about the 2020 iPhone lineup end up being accurate with ProMotion, squared off design, LiDAR, camera systems, everything 5G support, 2021, if their argument for upgrading is portless, it's going to be the biggest iPhone flop ever. No one's going to upgrade just so that they can get no port on their phone. What's the benefit of not having a port? Battery's a little longer. No one's going to upgrade for that because it's going to be harder to charge your phone now. They're going to have to adopt some new standard. Your old Lightning cables aren't going to work. And I think that the smartphone market in regards to upgrades has declined so much that Apple's going to be like, no, we can't afford to remove the charge port and go through some controversial port removal next year because there's not going to be a good reason to upgrade. There's a decent reason to remove the headphone jack in my mind because there's a single-use port. It was only used for one thing. Wireless technology was getting better, and Apple ironed it out and made it good. They increased the battery life pretty substantially. But battery life on the 6S was not great. 11 Pro battery life is fantastic. You can go through a whole old day and still have plenty of juice left over. So it's not like battery life is something that needs to be addressed soon. A lot of people would probably upgrade for USB-C. I'm going to upgrade because it's my job, but at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of people would. I don't think that's a good reason to. C-Wogs, I miss you. Subscribed at a tier 1 sub for 6 months. Wireless speed is so slow. It's always going to be slower than wired, but that doesn't mean it's not a good idea. I mean, they can make it faster. I think if they remove the charge port, Apple's going to have to do something with wireless charging. They're going to have to make the iPhone support something like the OnePlus 8 wireless charging, like the 30-watt wireless charge. They'll have to do something like that. They can't leave wireless charging in its current state and remove the charge port. Just like they didn't remove the headphone jack and not introduce AirPods. They fixed the problem in the same time frame they removed the headphone jack. So if they remove the charge port, they got to come up with something else. No, notice, I don't know how to say it. Nocte, thank you for the Twitch Prime. 5G can be used between devices as Wi-Fi replacement. No, I think it's just a modem support. I don't think it's a Wi-Fi replacement. ProMotion is more important for me than USB-C. Yeah, I agree. I'm not using wireless speed slower than current, which is 22 watt. Are you saying I would not using wireless speed slower than current, which is 22 watts? I don't know what you're trying to say, but iPhones pretty much max out charge at 30 watts anyway, so if they can do 30 watts over wireless, then they could argue at least it's the same speed as wired. It may cost more, but at least they could argue like fast charging is not an argument anymore. But anyway, I got to get back to work, guys, so I'm going to work on the EV video now. Thank you, though, for the Twitch Primes and your donations. Very much appreciated, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.